Hey everyone, I wanted to do a live disputing sheet for fear of fear and kind of what to expect as you're going throughout OCD and anxiety recovery. Why it's so important to take a proactive approach using this book on the reading list, OCDrecovery.com, the resource tab. I can't really see how anyone could recover from OCD without a deep understanding of the principles in this book and the myth of self-esteem. Yes, Paul David's book. Yes, Self-Help for Your Nerves. Yes, Marcus Aurelius and Viktor Frankl's books are amazing for perspectives and wearing things. But this book, The Myth of Self-Esteem by Dr. Albert Ellis, who is the original CBT creator. Remember, REBT is the original CBT, and in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's much less watered down. It's not really talkish. It's very emotive and breaking down beliefs. So I think this book will really help every single person. And unconditional acceptance is unconditional. Before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button down below. Let me know if you like these educational format videos. This is something I really do enjoy. I am going to use page 70, the book that anyone I coach, all the people, the hundreds or thousands of people I coach in the webinars, we go over a lot of stuff like this. I'm going to talk about why this takes so long to accept. There might be certain things in your life that might take 6, 12 months to accept. But a lot of people, it usually takes a good couple of years to accept their worst case scenario from their deepest, darkest fears, and I was no exception. So, and then we have that direct WhatsApp link that you can message Phil, we can get you in right away. So when you're reading this book, like I said, and I'll show this, and the reason why I'm doing this on paper in front of you, or why I like doing this, is it shows you the effort needed. So I had someone ask me the other day, and they said, do you think it's necessary to use pen and paper? I said, no, you don't need pen and paper, but a lot of people putting the pen to paper, taking time out of your day, shows yourself behaviorally and from a frustration tolerance, as Ellis says, thinking, feeling, and behaving all affect each other, not a third ratio, sometimes one more than the other, or all the same. But when you sit down and do this on paper, it shows me that you're going to take it seriously. So the first thing that we have are goals, okay? Now, everyone has goals in their life, but I was looking at some recent data that I maybe 2 months ago on goals, talking about how many people write their goals down, how many people achieve their goals. My wife and I were talking about a running app that an individual she was listening to that has millions of people use this app, show that 19 days is the sweet spot when people stop using the app. And that's probably why when I see things about big YouTubers and content creators and celebrities talking about that you can change a habit in 30 days, my bullshit meter goes off the chart, because that's not real for most people. Habits take a long time. Ray Dalio has the best explanation, in my opinion, in his book Principles, which is a great adjunct to the books on the reading list. Those books are most important. But Principles is a very, very good book. After you've read the book, you've done all your disputing, maybe a year or two into your recovery process. Not that it's a hard, fast rule, but it's I would recommend this stuff first because it's really what gets you better. He was talking about most habits take consistency for 18 months. And I would say that's more like it, but no one likes to hear that. This is why the stuff on social media, I know everyone recovers in 6 months and all the timeline stuff. It makes you feel good, but you just get shut back down again when it doesn't happen. So the goal, and this is hard, we're going to go straight for the throat of OCD. Accepting we have OCD. Now, it's not just accepting that we have OCD. It's a little bit more than that. In parentheses, it can return whenever. Now, the chances of it returning are much lower when your beliefs are changed. It is important to highlight that. So your chances are much lower when this happens, but you have a mental health disorder. This is why thoughts are thoughts is only a piece, but it doesn't work fully. This is why exposures are important, sometimes more than others, but it's not the whole story. This is the harsh reality, and I know so many people shake when they hear this harsh reality of having severe OCD, which is more than likely genetic. Now, most people, they've never had schooling on genetics, so they just watch YouTubers, which in my opinion still explain genetics mostly incorrectly because the geneticists are in the lab. They're not making YouTube videos. You can skip multiple generations. Like I've had people say, my grandparents or my parents didn't have OCD. Yeah, but your great-great-grandparents and then 15 generations before them, if that's how long your lineage is, could have all had severe OCD. Just because your direct family doesn't have it does not mean it's still not genetic. And that's a massive misunderstanding. So the next thing we're going to do is talk about the A's. Now remember, most people believe that A equals C, which is activating event equals consequence. You made me mad. The weather is why I'm depressed, etc., etc. That person made fun of me. They bullied me. This is why I'm crying. But that's not necessarily true. Because if we put 100 people in that particular situation, not all 100 people would act the same way. They would act differently in certain ways. That's because the beliefs come into play. So for this, the basic activating events, and this is going to sound kind of just very bland when it comes to having OCD. So any time you want to have fun or concentrate, that's an easy one for fear to pop in. Oh, this ruins my moment. Why has this happened to me? Another one is when you're feeling good. Because what happens is when you're feeling good and OCD rips the rug out from underneath you, there's a lot of deservingness and fairness, conditional life acceptance. This shouldn't be happening to me. Why is this happening to me? This is a really hard example. It's like when you see people who've lost family members, kids, brothers and sisters and parents to cancer or death or cardiovascular disease, and they say they didn't deserve this. I have the utmost sympathy, and I get it, losing my father to cancer only at 60 years old. But the world doesn't owe anyone anything. And kids die all the time of cancer, and people are murdered, and people are in war zones, and people are in poverty. We have a degree of that. I'm not sure if I believe free will fully. I'm very much on the fence. I love both sides of the argument. I could see why some people don't believe in free will at all, which is a great argument. That's for the existential crowd and the solipsism crowd. And then I could see why the religious crowd believe in free will. God's choice to act how you want and make the decisions in order to be saved and have divinity and get into heaven. So I could see both sides of it. I try to be as open-minded as I can while holding firm beliefs, but always willing to change those. It's a mixture of Ivan Meisner, who owns BNI, and Ray Dalio. I kind of like combine the two together, which both those men are men who I look up to in my life. So feeling good, that's a great activating event. And then just, I'll put another one, hearing stories. So let's say you've been feeling, this goes back into like the second part, you've been feeling good and you hear a story about someone being murdered and it triggers something and it brings you back in. That's another one. So hearing stories. These are really the big, of course, the last one is life events. So life events, that involves, it's easy for OCD to latch during, new job, birth of your children, bankruptcy, death in the family, things that aren't directly related to your core fears, but it's an easy place for your OCD to latch. And the whole goal of these activating events is to cause, cause confusion by OCD. So OCD is looking to come in here and to confuse you. It wants you to say, what? I just was doing good. I thought my beliefs were so much better. Oh, I thought I could handle that life event, etc. Then there's some life events that you've never had. Maybe you lose a mom, and that really is triggering for you, which it would be for most people. Now, from here, we have beliefs, okay? And this is exactly how it would look if I was to do it. I would do a little bit more detail in my writing, but just to give you a background. So there's two types of beliefs. I'm going to do one example of an irrational belief and one example of a rational belief. So it will be RIB and then RB. Just to give you a background, this is what it looks like so far. Ooh, that way you can kind of get a pause of how you would do it. And take the risk. Take the risk that you do this incorrectly. A lot of people, can you please help me through the whole thing? I will guide you. We could do it together, but I have to have you take risk in doing your own. So your irrational belief is, I'll make a again, this is just for simplicity of the writing. Okay? Having OCD, we can all relate to this one, is horrible. It's horrible. it's the worst thing ever. I can't stand having OCD. I can't stand it. Worst thing ever. Rational belief is having OCD is very tough, but, and this is so important, but I will make do. Or OCD is very tough, but at least I live in a time period where I can get better. At least I understand the principles from Ellis and people who have been there before me, aka like me, trying to teach you and educate you of all the struggles that I made. And then because of these beliefs, they will have their own, and I'll just put E.C for emotional consequence. And the emotional consequence is behaviors plus emotion. So let's say from the first one, right? Having OCD is horrible. So what behaviors could that instill in us? So I have the behaviors, and then we have the emotions. This is so important to look at. And for the bottom one, for the rational belief, I'll just put E and C to kind of show you, or this, not make you sit here, make me write all these words out. So each one has a EC. So the behaviors for having OCD is horrible. It's going to have a lot of low frustration tolerance behaviors. So a lot of procrastination. Okay. We know that. Humans are pretty bad with that. A lot of complaining. I did my fair share of complaining. Meltdowns, freak out. My emotions got the best of me. A lot of avoidance. Not going to work, canceling plans, not wanting to leave the house, not wanting to bring symptoms for the ride, etc. Googling, researching, all the big compulsions. And then the emotions can be, all the ones that you would already know. Panic, plus anxiety, which doesn't really matter what we call it, just uncomfortable. Guilt, chronic guilt, plus shame. DPDR, a lot of DPDR and groinal responses, depending if you have POCD or sexual related OCD fears, etc. And then that would look like that. So having OCD is horrible, behaviors, emotions. And then when you start, and just so you know, like this is I do want to put this at the bottom. I know no one really wants to hear this, but this is really a multi-year process. I just got off the phone with someone. I think they will laugh when they watch this. I don't think they would mind me saying. This individual has been working with me for 9 months. I think they've done 10 calls or 11 calls. And they're just really starting to realize how much work they had to put in for cutting behaviors and reassurance and venting. And I showed them how long I've been working on this. And we just did it to show just a funny example, like 9 months versus 50 months. At the time, it was 44 months, but in that way. So it's a multi-year process. Be careful when people tell you, I've never seen a chronic case recovery in 6 months. I'm sure it's happened, but I have not met that person. And I work with dozens and dozens and dozens of countries, different languages, translator calls, every type of person you could work with, every belief system, atheist, Christian, Catholic, Muslim, agnostic, every single political opinion, left, right, upside down, under the middle, in the middle, on the line, everything, gay, straight, transgender, bisexual. I mean, I've literally worked, I just don't get surprised anymore. I've worked with every variation of human, which has been really good for me. And I appreciate all the stories many of you have told me. So having OCD is very tough, but I will make do. And then those emotions, okay, this is important. So the emotions for this might be frustration. I get frustrated. Someone almost hit my car the other day. I was frustrated. Frustration. Regular concern. If you're concerned about something, it's proactive. And gratitude. I want to put gratitude, so much more gratitude. Usually gratitude doesn't exist in the irrational belief. So frustration, concern, gratitude. Healthy guilt. Healthy guilt is important. If you make a mistake, let's say you and Jim are working on a project at school, and then Jim did the work and you didn't. and you have a healthy guilt. Damn it, Jim put that in. I didn't like the way it made me feel. I'm going to try better the next time. Unhealthy guilt is beratement, self-depreciation, you're an idiot, you're a moron. And then the behaviors for this could be the simple stuff. Non-avoidance. I hear the dog whining. Non-avoidance. No compulsions. And just overall balance. So this is what it would look like. Most people will have to go through every exercise in this book at least once or twice. Spread out periods where you are disputing on paper, periods where you are not disputing on paper, and it would look, let's see if I can make this fit like that. So write a little bit more, like I wouldn't just write feel good for activating event. Take your time with this. The activating event would be something along the lines of OCD is hitting me when I'm feeling good and I say I don't deserve for this to come back. I deserve for this to not come back. Hearing stories of other people who have been through tragedies, which triggers me. So put a little bit more effort into how you're writing. That was just simplicity. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know what you think. I love these educational, instructive videos. It's something I've really fallen in love with. But I don't like doing them too much anymore because it is important to give you the balanced approach of the experience in the mind and all the other, nasty stuff I had to go through, like we all do on our way to OCD and anxiety recovery. So please reach out one-to-ones. We work with all time zones all over the world. I can't think of a time zone I haven't worked in. I remember working in, I work now in Newfoundland, right at like Canada, but all the way out to the East Coast. And it was it's a 3.5 hour difference. It's like this weird 3.5 compared to the East Coast, which is 2, and then another hour, and another half hour. So I love it. It's cool. I'm very grateful to do what I do. And then that direct WhatsApp link down below. We can hope to get you in right away. Have a good one, everyone. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.